Hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, please take a moment to do that. So here on Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, over the last few years, I've been slowly working my way through the collection, These Stories of Ray Bradbury, which contains 100 short stories by Ray Bradbury. Today we are up to story number 88 of 100, which is Punishment Without Crime from 1950. This is also the 300th video in our Let's Talk Short Fiction playlist, so we're nearing the end of Volume 1 of Let's Talk Short Fiction here on Let's Talk. Traditionally, I've wrapped up playlists after 365 videos. So, the way these videos work is I do a brief synopsis of the action of the story and then sort of wrap up with some thoughts and things about what the whole thing means, why it remains relevant so many decades after publication. So, George Hill is going to kill his wife, but not really. George married a much younger Katie years ago, and while he was working and being busy and providing and being ambitious, she fell in love with another man, Leonard Phelps, and cheated on George. George is now in the waiting room at a company that makes realistic robotic marionettes, as Bradbury often calls them, of real-world people, and they're designed to be killed by a loved one, basically as a way of purging negative feelings. And it's even government approved at the current time. George waits, and then eventually, he waits in a precise reconstruction of her bedroom, of all places. And eventually, she enters, this fake Katie, and she's so convincing and so perfect that George decides that he doesn't even want to kill her anymore. But the robot being so convincing actually begins to goad him and pressure him and basically try to anger him into killing her. And in fact, that happens. After sort of going back and forth and arguing, a blood rage comes over him. He basically blacks out, but realizes that he's emptied an entire revolver into her chest. He blacks out, but when he comes to, they've cleaned him up. He's back in the waiting room. He doesn't even have any blood on him. And I guess he feels purged in a way. But he walks out into the street and is immediately arrested and thrown into jail. He insists that he's committed no crime, but 10 days later, he's set to be executed because the lawyer tells him, I've done all I can for you, but a new law has been passed in the recent weeks granting basically human rights to artificial intelligence, and the law needs somebody to scapegoat right now and basically to show that they mean business, and you're basically to be made an example of. This law won't last forever, but in the meantime, they want to use you to basically dissuade other people from killing robots made to replicate other people. He insists that he's committed no crime. Anyway, real Katie and her new man show up, and they want to see him, and George refuses to allow this, but he looks out his window down on the street in the rain, and he sees her and him jumping into a car, no doubt to jump into, or to begin to travel the world and to do all the things that they used to do together before he grew too old for her. And George Hill's to be executed by the government so that to make an example of him in the coming days, and we don't actually see it, as is often the case in Bradbury, but we can assume that it did happen. This is 2 stories in a row that I've read by Bradbury where a man wants to kill his wife. Yesterday's story was The October Game, set on a Halloween, where the man wants to kill his wife, but he wants to make her suffer, and he decides to kill their daughter instead. There's various themes in this story. I think one is purging negativity through fantasy. Video games today are a good example of that, as well as the emerging VR market, which is part of video gaming. But also, I think another one is violent music. That's something that I love. I love very aggressive, dark, heavy metal. And I do find it cathartic, but I think that's always been a debate, or at least for several decades, is the effect of music. And on occasion, we try to blame music and other art for the criminal acts of people. And then it goes back to that, did the Did the music, did the art make him that way, or is it reflection the other direction? So is it art imitating life or vice versa? So that's a very an obvious case here. This whole idea of creating a fantasy location with a fake person and purging yourself of your negative emotions by doing what you would your deep darkest self wants to do, but can't. And then it brings into the question: well, if you do it, is it a sign that you really would do it? I don't think so. The other theme is, I think, the rights of artificial life. I think that's becoming more and more relevant now. I mean, I think we're still years away from it, but it's closer now than it was in Bradbury's time, definitely. And it's something we're going to have to tackle in the future, I think. When robots and programs become sufficiently intelligent and real, are we going to have laws protecting them? And will we be able to accomplish that? Or will it be the same right versus left debate that we have now over everything? One side wants to legislate things to make the world better. The other one is so hell-bent on freedom that it's willing to, alleged freedoms, that it's willing to basically allow continued suffering and bad behavior because Lord forbid that this person not be able to do something that they think they should be able to do, but they can't anyway. So it's really, really weird. But really, I think this is just a story about a man, a story we've seen many times in real world and in TV. A man who takes a young trophy wife, many years younger than he, and is cheated on by her, but both are somewhat guilty of something. She's wrong for cheating, but also, probably seeking out a hot, young, attractive woman who's far younger than he is. Probably not the best idea if it's done disingenuously. And also the fact that this is a man who worked a ton, which we respect work, but it seems like he was a little bit overambitious, a little bit greedy, and that was sort of part of his whole shtick. So at the same time as she's doing wrong, maybe he should have been paying more attention to her and loving her and sort of not just putting her on a pedestal and, having her photo to take out and show to friends and look what I married, So yeah, I don't think either person is completely right in this situation. But of course, the man is definitely wrong if he really was going to kill his wife. But he actually chose not to in the end and still got punished for it. So that's something weird as well. All right. That was Punishment Without Crime from 1950. Tomorrow, if you return, we will be looking at A Piece of Wood from 1952, which is story number 89 of 100. We're nearly done. And then we're going to move on to some other projects here on Let's Talk. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.